Hi, Laurie and Maria joining you again for another episode of Cocktails and Canine Conversations. Today we are going to talk about how critical the words we use every day are, not just for us humans, because the way we talk to each other, to the way we talk to strangers on the street, and the way we talk to our dogs can definitely have an impact. If you speak with love and compassion, it will make a much bigger difference and bring some kindness and compassion to the world. So when we're thinking of dogs, there are some words that Maria and I have talked about that are a little bit misused, we would say. And 5 of those words are what we're going to dig into a little bit today. One of those is aggression. Dominance is another. And then we hear a lot stubborn, guilty, or spoiled when we're talking about our dogs. So Maria, from a training perspective, can share some insight on what those words might mean if you, the pet parent, are using them to talk about your dog to, it might be to people that you encounter, or it might be to us at a training or a boarding facility when you use a word, how it might impact the stereotype that goes along with your dog. So let's dig in and talk about aggression.
Okay. I hear a lot from my discovery calls. I hear a lot from sometimes at the daycare, they'll say, well, my dog is aggressive. Are they? Mm-hmm. We don't know. But if you're going to use the word aggressive, you're going to automatically put a stereotype on that dog. People think of aggression as a dog coming after you. People think of aggression as mean, nasty, right? Many, many times, aggression is very misunderstood. You know, just like all of these words, they're very misunderstood. They're taken at face value. But when we really dig into aggression could be extreme fear. And dogs can react to extreme fear.
Right.
You know, and the barking and the maybe lunging and telling you to back up. You know, the dog body language doesn't necessarily mean it's aggressive. He is trying to tell you something, but it's not necessarily aggression. Now, I have seen aggression, and aggression is no fun, and it takes a lot of speciality to work with something like that. But for the most part, when I hear aggression, or when I am at the daycare and someone says, yeah, my dog has a tendency to be aggressive, I would bet that after evaluation, we would probably see a lot more fear than anything.
Right. And I would think also that from a boarding perspective, if we hear when we're making a reservation for somebody that the dog is aggressive, we're going to think, okay, are we safely going to be able to handle this dog? Right. Will this dog be good with humans and other dogs? And, you know, and it might be a poor perception because it might not be accurate.
Right.
Okay. Right. So there's a tidbit on aggression. Let's talk a little bit about dominance.
Okay. People say, you know, I think my dog is trying to dominate me. Chances are pretty good after an evaluation on the dog that the dog is just confused as to what it's supposed to be doing. It's following its instinct. It doesn't really know what you're asking it to do. So it's just doing what it feels like it should be doing, which blindly, we can look at that as dominance. We can look at a dog that's like, you know, I'm going to come over and I'm going to sit on your lap. You tell them to get off and they're like, no, I'm going to sit on your lap. People think they're trying to dominate the owner. That's not. The dog's just not really sure.
So they're confused.
They're confused a little bit. Yeah.
Do you feel, from a training perspective, it's a lack of leadership from the part of the part of the pet parent?
It could be.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be. It could be lack of training, lack of leadership, lack of consistency.
Okay.
You know, when we're training our dogs and we're being consistent and we're saying the same things over and over again, the dog is going to start building that vocabulary. And that vocabulary isn't understood the way you and I would understand it, but they're going to understand when they hear a word, they're going to say, oh, I know what to do.
Okay.
And they're going to probably go and do that thing.
Okay, cool. That's really interesting. And it's so intriguing when we think about these words that we use and just in the day-to-day life that we have with our dogs, I don't think about it. And one of the words that we're going to talk about next, I use regularly with my dogs, and that's stubborn. So let's dig into that one.
So when someone says to me, my dog is stubborn, again, we go back to, they just don't know what to do, right? So they instinctually are following their gut. They're instinctually doing what to them feels right. So we can't consider them stubborn because they don't really know what they're doing.
Sure.
So a lot of these kind of overlap a little bit. Dominant, stubborn, those kind of things, they can kind of intertwine. But again, when you say your dog's stubborn, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for frustration, right?
Sure.
We get frustrated. Now we're taking it, into a tone with the dog. And it can be very frustrating for both of you. And the dog sometimes just needs a little bit of a tweak on maybe how you approach something, or a little bit of a tweak on how you're saying it, or maybe pick a different word that
Sure.
the dog is going to respond to better.
That makes sense. And if we assign these labels to our dogs, right? And I'm guilty. I do it.
I do it too.
I'm guilty. I have a French bulldog, and boy, that little sucker is stubborn. I say it. He's stubborn. He's also incredibly naughty. That's another word. But it's hard because we do create perceptions about our dogs, and then that affects our energy and the way we react to the dog.
Right.
So
and they feel it.
Yeah. Oh, they do.
feel it.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about guilty.
So I hear this a lot, and when I say your dog feels it, guilty is the one that they're going to feel it in. Okay. Because when I had someone the other day say to me, yeah, as soon as she did this, I could see the guilt. And I said, well, what did you say to her as soon as she did it? I said, well, bad dog. That's what she was feeling. She was feeling your tone. She was feeling your energy. So she sunk down a little bit like this, which looks like guilt, right? You kind of look away. If you're guilty, you and I are having a conversation, you're going to probably be like, yeah, I didn't do that, right? But a dog is going to do the same thing. But what they're not doing is they're not showing guilt. They're responding to the tone of voice, and they're responding to your body language, and they're responding to your energy.
Yeah. And again, we've used that energy word a few times here. So much goes into our energy and how it impacts and affects our dogs. They feel what we feel, without a doubt.
They absorb it.
Absolutely, they do. And I've always said in other videos, right, the way we feel travels right down the leash to the dog. And if you are doing dog introductions and you feel a little nervous, your dog will sense it. But that energy, that really relates to everything. So the last word we wanted to talk about today is spoiled. So let's talk a little bit about that one.
So I think spoiled goes kind of back to a lot of these. They'll say, they're spoiled. I let them do what they want. Well, that's on you. That's not on the dog. So if the dog is doing what you've allowed them to do over and over again, and it becomes the norm for them, that's your fault. And I tell people that all the time. I'm like, she's not spoiled. She's doing what she thinks she should be doing. So, clear, controlled communication. We talk about that sometimes. Be very clear what you're asking for your dog. If you don't like it, you're going to call a trainer. You're asking for change. So all of these words, they all can be tweaked, adjusted, but don't put these words on your dog. It's not fair to the dog, and it gives a perception to all the people that you're talking to. I hear it often at the daycare. Someone will say, that dog bit me. Let me see your arm. Okay, there's a little scratch there. You're walking around saying, the dog bit me.
Right.
So everybody that you're telling that to is now expecting that dog to bite them.
Right.
Okay, dog may have scratched it, may have jumped up, been mouthy, but didn't
There's
not
a difference.
bite. Don't be cautious of your words.
So that's another word we can add to our list.
Yes.
And we do hear that, right, from pet parents and also from employees sometimes who may be new or may just react, right? And it's so easy to be reactive,
It's
right?
so easy to
and to use the wrong words. Hi. Oh, I'm getting some good kisses. Some good kisses, yes. So that is the gist of our Cocktails and Canine Conversations today. Those are 5 or 6 misused. I'm getting a clean, I'm getting molested here. Oh yeah. So those are 5 or 6 because we added another word of words that are used in day-to-day language, and we would say are misused, that don't necessarily represent the dog properly, that are going to create undue, look at that cute little tail, undue stereotypes for the dogs that we're caring for or the dogs that we have in our homes. So just be mindful. Be mindful of the words that you use, and be mindful of the descriptions and the stereotypes
And the
that you
perception.
create and the perception that you have, that you create for your dogs to other people, right? And to yourself in your own home. So this is Cocktails and Canine Conversations with Maria and Laurie. We are happy to enjoy a beverage with you and talk dog and get lots of yummy puppy kisses. Yes. Thank you.
Pino kind of likes Laurie.
Pino's my friend. Pino's my friend. So thank you for tuning in.
Thank you,
and
guys.
pay attention to your YouTube channel. Subscribe to both of our YouTube pages. And we look forward to bringing more Cocktails and Canine Conversation videos with some educational content your way soon.
Laurie and
Signing off.
Maria signing out.
off.
Cheers.